County Commissioners for the purpose of to listen to some staff report and then some departmental reports with regards to our budgetary process. So to start with, Ms. Davis.
Good afternoon. I don't have anything specific for you as far as millage and so forth. We discussed that at the last meeting, and if you have any other questions, we can discuss that further at our tentative and our final hearings. But I'm here to answer any questions if you may have them. But today is mostly for the constitutional officers to get in front of you and present their budgets to you. And if you have any questions, this is an opportunity that you can have those questions answered.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll start off with the State Attorney, Mr. Russell. Here.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Afternoon. I think our budget request has been fairly stable the last couple of years, and our submission request for the next 2 years is likewise stable. I don't have any, from my end, any issues with that. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them. What I did want to do is come and thank you for your support. Our office covers 5 counties, and since I've been in office for 15 years, I've tried to ensure and continue to try to ensure that Hendry and in addition Glades, being rural counties, get the same services as the more populated counties. We try hard to make sure everybody gets equal services in that regard. And I think your budget helps us in that regard. We have kept up and it really focuses in a large part to what you do give us on IT and communications, and we were able to go to court here in LaBelle with laptops and things that are state-of-the-art and meet compliance with some of the agencies, FDLE and others, that we have to meet some rigid requirements for some of the information we get through their programs. So I don't want to belabor it. I appreciate your indulgence to hear from me. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But I wanted to let you know we do not take it for granted, even though I think our submission is probably a smaller part of your budget. It's important to us, and I don't get the opportunity every year, but I try to let you know we do appreciate that. And thank you and the citizens of Hendry County for your support.
Thank you. Board have any questions?
We appreciate what you do for Hendry County.
Absolutely.
At least you show up.
Thank you. Commissioner Harris and I rented our suits from the same place today.
You said rented. I know you're lying because he ain't paying for no rent. I can tell you that.
Well, I know he didn't buy it.
Oh,
so
okay. Got it.
For the record, Mr. Chair, you just called the state attorney a liar.
Fibber. Had to clarify. With my parking tickets. Okay, all right. Yeah. Public Defender's Office? No one here from Public Defender's Office? Court Administration, Ms. Oliver?
Really tall. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm here to present the court administration budget, and just to clarify that covers several different departments. One is the Hendry County Probation Department, case management and juvenile programs for the courts, the county judge's budget, circuit judge, court technology, and courthouse security. Those are all included in the court administration budget. For this year's budget, both the circuit judge and county judge budgets remain the same. They're consistent with last year. A change is reflected in the courthouse security budget, and that's due to an increase in the market rate negotiated in the 2017 contract with the county, with Hendry County and Giddens. The rate went from $16.38 an hour to $15.80, or from $15.89 an hour to $16.38. So an additional $5,000 was added to the budget to support that. A small 2.7% increase was added to the Hendry County Probation Department budget. This was an increase in personnel costs, but the operational cost has remained the same for the department, which was consistent with last year. Personnel costs also, there was a small increase for the criminal case manager, but the most significant change in our budget is for court technology. There was a increase due to the fact that some equipment needs to be changed out because it has reached end of life, which means it can no longer be maintained. The costs were spread over a 3-year period, and next year, the technology allocation or the proposed costs are a decrease of $14,000 from this year to next year. And that's expected for next fiscal year. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have based on the numbers that I have placed before you. But again, I also thank you for all the support that you give to the judiciary and the courts and all the court programs.
Any questions for Ms. Oliver?
No?
You know, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
is it going to, where is the area that we think we're going to be able to find potential money to help with this potential feasibility study that we're going to do? Is that going to come out of your budget, or is it a combination, or what?
It was a combination of
It's a
budgets.
combination.
Combination.
I have, I did speak to the trial court administrator, Scott Wilsker, who was going to discuss with the chief judge regarding that. It was his understanding from the meeting that the county was looking for a grant to fund the feasibility study. And I let him know that if that happens, then that would be great. But he has not gotten back to me as far as whether they support us using the facilities funds to fund some of that that cost.
Okay.
So, but that has been proposed to them. So I just have not heard back from them.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Oliver.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Clerk of Court?
Mine went up by $6,000 so I can bring somebody in to train because Bill's gonna retire. That's it. Less than 1%.
One less than 1%?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's me.
that's it. Any questions? Clerk of
None.
Court? None?
Pretty stiff.
That was stiff, isn't it?
Come on, Daryl.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
You have to eat lunch with
Are,
me sometime.
Ms. Butler, are you starting to see more interaction in your office though from an online presence? Are you starting to see an increase in that, or is it still a lot of foot traffic actually through the doors and actual physical paper?
Got a lot of foot traffic.
Uh-huh.
A lot of foot traffic. And now the online stuff for the civil department, criminal departments, you know, everything that's filed in civil and a lot that's filed in criminal is done online. You know, all the pleadings in civil and everything is e-filed, you know. And, but still, you know, we do passports, they gotta be there, in person. We do marriage license, they gotta be there, in person. You know, so we're still seeing, and people come in and pay their traffic tickets, they, you know, some of them do it online, especially if they're from another state. And, you know, but they call, you know, instead of going online, they'll call,
A mixed bag.
you know.
Yeah.
So we still got a lot. It's busy.
Is there any one thing that is your biggest creator of traffic? Like, is it traffic tickets? Is it marriage license? Is it passport? What would be like the number if you had to rank them 1, 2, 3? And just anecdotally, I mean, I'm not holding you to any of it, but what do you think it is just off the hip?
Well, criminal department's number one.
Uh-huh.
You know, because you've got traffic tickets, and you've got not only from the sheriff's office, you got City of Clewiston, you got this
Oh, yeah.
PD.
Yes, ma'am.
Clewiston, the SO, Indian Reservation, and Highway Patrol, and Game Commission. So you got all that, you know. So that's a real busy section, you know. Then you've got the trials that go with it.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, not only the tickets, but then you've got the trials that go with it. So we're seeing there's a lot in the criminal department. There's a lot in the civil department. You know, recording is picked up. Passports have went crazy. You know, we done more passports this last year than we did like 3 years together.
Really?
Yeah.
Travel abroad is way down, and we're doing more passports.
That's
pretty wild.
Well, ISIS went to Immokalee, and they picked up, did they? They went and picked up a couple people. They all came for passports for their kids then, so they
I
couldn't
see.
deport them.
Gotcha.
You
Yeah.
know, and we were doing 20, 25 passports a week. You know, well, they take about an hour apiece to do.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, so that's tying up a clerk full-time, you know. And we've still got it. Marriage license goes in spurts, you know, but
All right.
stay busy,
Good.
you know.
Good.
Thank you, Ms. Butler.
Good question. Good question. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Butler. And I know that you wrestle with a lot. You know, I know that there's a lot of facets to what you do, everything from this to cemeteries, and I know there's a lot of,
Cemeteries take up
I know.
a heap
So,
of time.
I know it's not easy.
Heap of time.
So thank you for all that you do, because I know that there's a lot of umbrella that you use. Supervisor of Elections? Good evening.
Good evening. As you see in my budget, there's not any major changes. We just shifted some funds due to the new equipment that we have. As far as we don't have the phone lines and things that we used to have. So we've reduced that, and we're able to have the 3% increase and still reduce our budget by a little bit.
That's pretty
Okay,
good.
very good. Very good. All equipment's well? You got pretty much.
Well, I'm on
fairly-
the consent agenda tonight.
Oh, nice. Yes, yes,
Yes.
you are.
Okay.
Yes, you are. Any
Any
questions?
questions?
Questions? It's not an election year, there's no questions right now.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Tax collector?
He's at the doctor.
He's at the doctor. Anyone from the tax collector's office? None? Property appraiser? No property appraiser?
His,
Okay. Any questions for the representative?
his brother passed away.
Oh, Fields?
Phil's
Oh, I
brother.
didn't know that. Okay.
He's out of town, out of state.
Does anyone have any questions with regards to that? Anyone there? And then Sheriff's Department? Now, I hope you've been paying attention so far.
I didn't hear that. I'm not even going to ask.
No.
Good evening. How's everyone doing? I want to say you all look very nice today.
Oh, boy.
Here it comes.
Yeah.
Giving back.
No, sir, I appreciate you letting me have the opportunity to speak to you. We've presented our budget to you. I had an opportunity to speak to you at the last budget. What we talked about was you guys, I guess, had worked out where you were able to fund everything in the budget except for the $82,000 and also minus the 4 deputies that we needed. And what I want to talk to you tonight about is the 4 deputies. I know the board had asked if I would be willing to consider, 2 deputies as opposed to the 4, which, yes, I'll take whatever I can get. And again, the reason is we are seeing an increase in drug users in the county, and that goes hand in hand with thefts and larcenies in the county. With the 2 deputies, if we could get that, would definitely assist in giving equal time and work on the east side of the county to try to get a handle on that. We've had some issues go on over there recently in the Twin Lakes area, all drug-related, pretty severe stuff, and we'd like to get a handle on that, and I really think that these 2 deputies could be utilized for that. So if at all possible, if I could get the 2 deputies, that would be greatly needed and greatly appreciated. The other thing is the 82,000 that we spoke about would definitely make us whole. Again, our budget is flat numbers, so that's what we would need to be complete. So I'd really like the opportunity to ask you guys to please find a way to be able to fund that for us this year.
Is the 255 same as you got last year from the city?
Yes, sir.
So you don't need any more money from the city?
No, sir. Well, that's a whole different animal.
What about school board?
What about it?
113?
It's the
Is that
same.
Same as last year?
Yes, sir.
And how many people? Does
What's-
that service so many deputies?
Services, yes, SROs from the school board. Yes, sir.
What's that total number right now?
Are we fully up, Chief? 11.
11
Yes,
SROs.
11.
11?
Yes, sir. So,
See, Steve, do they have the elementary schools, like in DeSoto and Lee, do they have deputies at their schools?
not all of them do, no, sir. No, sir. But if you'll recall, when this all came about, with me anyhow, was after the Sandy Hook shooting. And I realized if it can happen there, then, anyone can be a target. And, I'd rather spend the money and have someone there that can take action immediately rather than waiting on 911. And, 3 or 4 minutes for a deputy to arrive is a long time when somebody's trying to harm our kids. So,
When you talked to Lee County, they said they couldn't afford it.
mm-hmm.
Placing that
Well, and
each elementary stuff.
unfortunately, because of the age and original build out of some of the schools, there is not a single layer between an open door and the roads. And so,
Exactly.
and to make it that way, I know the school system is working to try to help that, but,
It's a long battle.
it's a long, expensive battle.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, obviously, we're eating a huge majority of the cost of that school board.
Mm-hmm.
Continue, I mean, right? The county's coffers make up a major portion of that.
Yes, sir.
That's $10,000 roughly. If you just do it divided by 11 schools, 10,000 and some change. Is there any way that we can make a request formally to the school board to ask them? I mean, are y'all comfortable with that? Or
Yeah.
I have no idea what they've done with their millage or anything like that, and I apologize for not knowing.
I don't think that they've moved on it. I don't think that they've changed it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, Steve, east-west, do you have one or two?
In East-West 1.
On what?
Yes, sir.
One at east-west.
Yeah. I look at it as under a roof is
It's all under
my
the
thought.
same roof. So they got one deputy for both schools.
Oh, yeah, you're right, yes. Okay, I'll follow you now.
That saved us a ton right there. So,
Mhm.
so again, I just can't stress enough how important the 2 deputies are. If we could get that.
How many do you use in the city?
Doesn't that make 9?
How many do we use in the city?
Yeah. Is it,
We're there.
you can't, I mean, is it a rotation deal or something?
No, we're there. We do handle calls in the city. Of course, the city of Clewiston, they do pay taxes for us as well. So we have to give them service. Now, we don't give them probably as much as they'd like, because of the city PD is there obviously, and they handle the majority of the calls, but we do work inside the city as well.
What about the LaBelle? How many deputies covers the city?
We're not zoned out yet, but how it really works here is the city of LaBelle gets a lot of patrols because of our location. Deputies are always in and out. Also, this is where the volume of population is. This is where the volume of our calls are. So they get ample patrols here in the city.
So how long have they been at 255?
Many, many years. And I talked to the former mayor back when I first came into office, and I said, hey, listen, this number has been this way for years, back when I first started as a deputy here. And he said, yeah, we understand that, Steve. And I said, well, look, I said, we need more money. He said, well, listen, he said, this has always been a problem with the mayor and the sheriff that's in office. It's a sword rattling deal. And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, well, the sheriffs in the past have threatened to pull the deputies out, but then come election time, you're unelected, so it's a political deal. So they kind of got you over a barrel, and they don't want to give up any more money. Now, I really can't do that, and I would not do that because the people of LaBelle deserve law enforcement like everybody else in the county. They pay their taxes for it. But getting them to come off of more money is definitely a feat, which maybe y'all could have some input on that for me. Or some assistance.
Commissioner Turner asked a question, and I want to make sure that you heard it and everybody heard it.
No, sir, I did not. I'm sorry.
I didn't want anybody to think that he and I were not wanting everybody to hear, but it was the question about the numbers didn't add up. There are 10 campuses, 10 different schools with 2 YDAs, but you only had 11 deputies.
You got east side, west side that covers one.
So that's 9. And then the 2
Is that 9?
YDAs make up, well, right, so in other words, there's 10 campuses, but east side, west side sheriff, so there's 9 deputies.
Okay.
And then the YDAs on each
The
side
other
have
2.
one each.
So we have one in every youth development academy.
Who's stationed, Chief, at our LDYs?
Ms. Bird.
There's not one. There's not one.
Okay.
We only have about 30 kids.
Right. Okay. The supervisors, but we don't have anybody at CYDA right now.
Yeah, we had one there for years.
Do you have somebody at DY?
We had one station there, yes, sir.
They have 30 students or 40 or what? They don't have many.
I'm not sure. That sounds about right.
So so just so I'm understanding, so when we say we have 11 school resource officers, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have 11 resource officers one at each campus?
No, because, and I'm sorry I didn't bring my numbers. Didn't think we were going to go on this route with the SROs. So, but we have, I'm trying to think, we have 11 schools.
I don't know. I think it's 10, but I'm not sure.
No,
10
it's
campuses and 2 YDAs.
11 facilities, including the LYDAs.
But we don't have one at the Clueston YDA.
Right. That's great.
Right.
So we have 11 deputies. But we're leaving one campus open. So I guess one's getting double coverage.
Is that what it is?
No. Are we short right now, one? Is that what's going on with it? We're short one right now.
You really have 10 on staff today.
On staff right now, we're budgeted, so we're short one.
Yeah, it's a force within itself.
Schools in LaBelle.
There's
3
5
elementaries,
schools, 1 YDA.
one middle school.
5, 6.
So there's 10 schools plus the 2 YDAs. So there's 12 campuses total. Is that
One
right?
share, that's correct.
But one,
shares, right.
east side, west side, like you said, one under a
Shares,
roof.
right.
Right.
Well, I think that we should make a respectful request, a respectful request to the school board, and actually find out, do we have coverage in every school? What is the superintendent's desires there, along with your share, your desire, and then also do something in the form of asking the city of LaBelle to see if there was anything that they could shake out of their tree.
Like $82,000.
You like 82,000?
Or 41, ain't it? Either one. 82 or 41.
I'm sorry, I just understood why you arrived at that number. I got you.
Because if you want to talk numbers, especially with the city, you have to realize that the city of Clewiston has their own police department. It costs them roughly $2 million a year to have a police department.
I think it's actually a little bit more than that now, but yes, sir.
Yeah, it's probably 2.2 now, I think.
But that's a choice that those taxpayers make.
That's right. But I'm just saying that,
You're still providing coverage regardless.
I'm just saying, if you're going to go to the city in a talking point, here you have it, because,
55 is really a bargain.
yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredible bargain, but I also think that the city of LaBelle, they could drive a couple other wedges that are out there and say, look at what we're paying for, and are we receiving services for that? And these are all arguments we've heard since
Well,
the beginning of time.
keep in mind, they could always come back and say, well, we're not going to give you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can. That's what they're doing.
We still have to cover it.
Yeah.
That's what
So-
they've been doing.
That's why it's called
But I
sword
think that
rattling.
it would be prudent on our behalf to ask if they, and I think that we should give it to them in the numbers that the sheriff has presented to us, which is 4 deputies at $41K roughly apiece. Is that right? For a total-
60.
So
60.
is it 240 or 82,000? And we're already cutting it in half at 164.
Okay, the 4 deputies are at 60 apiece.
Okay,
Okay, so 240.
gotcha.
All right. The 82,000 is the number that we need to be whole without the 4 deputies.
They 3
Oh, okay. So it's
Okay.
82 plus
plus
240
40.
is where our request is.
Right.
They 4.
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, your number of 41 or 82 is really irrelevant.
Yeah, the 82 was just for his budget holes, where I
Yeah,
came up with it.
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's not including the 4 deputies.
That's nothing to do with the deputies.
Right.
I thought that's what you were driving at.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, I don't know what the number is that y'all would like to decide on, but I would like to give our county administrator direction. And then if the city of LaBelle, I just think it's a nice cordial conversation, and if you don't ask, you don't get anything. The city of the city of Clueston chastised us for years for not giving more money to them with regards to recreation. But they never asked. They never asked for anything. I've had a number of contractors that, they're not going to pay me until I send them an invoice. I'm not saying we send them an invoice, but I say we at least send a nice letter that's a happy gram that says, hey, we would really like for y'all to consider this.
Let's talk about numbers then.
What do y'all think, Ms. Davis? You're the numbers guru. That's your job.
I think the request is appropriate.
Okay. Could we give them a little bit of history? Not that they don't know their own history, but cite the fact that it's been stagnant for X number of years? Or is that being too contentious?
No.
Not that I don't enjoy a good contentious conversation, but
Who are you?
And I don't think that would be hard to do at all with the rising costs, with everything else inflating,
Right.
moving around it as well.
and I think that we held the rope a long time through through the dismal times. Gas rose, all these things happen, and we were holding the rope.
Just remember, it's real easy for them to say, no,
Yeah,
we're not going to give you anything.
it is.
So,
Why don't we let them figure out the numbers and bring it back to us?
And just to keep in mind, isn't that a contract between you and the cities and the school board? Those are contracts directly with those offices and the sheriff. And so those dollars are passed through to us to offset the funding.
So does that need to be generated through you to them with our backing?
oh, I'm sorry.
Because if it's a contract through you, does that still have the same auspice? Does that need to come from him as a negotiation point?
I think that we're all in the same
Sure.
boat together, and
Yeah.
I think that it does remove a little bit of the political pressure on him if he's the main one asking for it, whereas if it's just him going to them after we send said letter and say, hey.
Well, keep in mind, I've actually asked.
Yeah.
Asked back in 2010, and I got a no
Okay.
from the mayor back then, so.
But
You
anyway,
waited 7 years to ask again. Good Lord. Boy, I tell you
Well,
what,
it was,
this other
it was put point blank to me that, hey, we don't have to give you anything. It's like,
Yeah.
well, I understand that.
Understood.
So, like I said,
Well, let's do it.
maybe you guys carry more weight than I do, so.
she can take that number of what he needs, and then they need to pitch in.
All right. I like
How are we looking this year as far as ad valorem? Are we up?
We're up, I think, is it 2.76% projected right now?
What does that mean as whole numbers?
453 grand more?
She's got some more than that, I think. That-
And there's still more to come in, right?
It's 455,000 more.
No.
We're off of our same, no, even not off of our same millage. We would generate $451,000 more in revenues coming in this year.
Coming in this year for this budget cycle?
Yes, sir.
17, 18?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
But just to keep in mind, so that his original request was 884,000, and we funded 577 of the 884 before the additional monies that they're not additional monies, they were in your original request, but what he's speaking about to you today.
Yes, ma'am.
So that have nothing to do with the 82?
What's that?
No, the 82 would be in there, I
The
think.
county agreed to fund the budget except for the 4 deputies and minus 82,000. So if you add the 240 in for the 4 deputies plus the 82, that'll make us whole. However, I'm saying deputies are very important. I understand that maybe not be able to get all of them, but if we can get some, whatever we can get would be greatly appreciated. And that's going to be assigned on the east side of the county because they need fair representation over there to get a handle on some things, so.
And so it would be fair to say that we funded his budget less $320,000.
That's 322.
His
right?
request.
Exactly. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
All righty.
Okay.
Okay,
And
thank
so,
you.
just so everybody's marching orders are clear, our staff's going to work to come up with a number and a request to,
In drafting 2 letters on behalf of the Hendry County BOCC to the Hendry County School Board and one to the City of LaBelle, asking, could you all please,
Share,
look, see what you got.
share it 3 ways.
We'd love to look at splitting that. And I think especially as it relates to the school resource officers, I mean, the fact is, if it's 11 or 12, it's 12 times X. That's what the cost is, and we're holding the note to a tremendous amount. I mean, if they're throwing 113,000 in, and he says roughly you juice it out at 60K a piece, well, that's 660,000.
That's a bunch of
That's a
money.
lot of numbers. That's a lot of money.
113 is just a scratch.
yep. Okay. Any further questions for the sheriff?
All right.
I do think that everyone is saying, though, I mean, no one in any way, shape, or form is saying we want to cut a school resource office or we want to remove anything. And I appreciate you not coming and beating us over the head and saying, it's real simple. If y'all don't give us X, I'm going to take a deputy off of the road. Because I hear people in your case that do that all the time. So I'm very appreciative of that, Sheriff. Thank you for working with us. And
Appreciate it.
it takes all of us. So it's good to hear. Because I know people that are sitting in our chairs in other parts of the state, they ain't got this kind of a conversation. He looks at us like we're the devil, and we look at him like he's 2 of them. So, and he's got a gun. So it's not that way with us. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. I have no one else on my list. I didn't leave anyone else or overlook anyone, correct?
I wanted to ask in regards to the tax collector, this is a workshop, so we can't take action.
Correct.
We can just give a purview of where we're going. But I think everybody's probably been reached out to by the tax collector. I know he called me, and I was out of town since Thursday of last week. But I had the opportunity to go and speak with Mr. Alan Bowen today. Obviously, first off, does anybody not know about that conversation at the sub office in Clewiston?
Yes.
Yes.
We've all, I know I've been there, Mitch.
Everybody's been brought up? Okay. I don't think in our current budget we have anything allocated for said upgrade, do we?
Not for the construction, we had looked at $12,000 to have an architect come in and take a look at what we could do.
Let me ask you a question. How come we spend that $12,000 on doing, letting Alan do it?
I mean, to put a Band-Aid on it?
Yeah.
Discussing, that's the first question is, we don't know what that's going to cost yet. And number two is we have not seen an exhibited level of service need based on the amount of foot traffic that's going on to warrant that expenditure.
But what if you see it in 5 years, and then you go back and you're going to have to spend 3 times what you're going to spend now?
Well, you know, when I was brought up to date on it, they talking about 8 feet here and there. And if you look at it 5 years, 8 feet is nothing. So I think that they should wait, you know, to put that money on later. Because right now, that's like putting one room when you need 5 down the line.
Well, I think Mitch and them went over there, and I think he said you could get 20 more seats in there and 1 more station. Is that right, Mitch?
We're looking at 40 more chairs and the possibility of 2 stations,
Which is
depending on taking a portion of the lobby, rearranging the stations that are there. Reality is, 3 months out of the year, they're slammed, for sure. I've been there for 18 years. I know. I've been there 5 days a week sometimes for 18 years. I've seen it. Rest of the year, may have 2 or 3 people here and there. Reality. I've been there myself since the last conversation we had. But the fact still remains that there's people that 3 months out of the year, they are overwhelmed. I believe that it's going to last longer than 5 years if we not to put a Band-Aid, because you know I hate Band-Aids, Commissioner Turner. But I believe that we can fix this situation for more than 5 years. Because right now it's just a 3-month window that we are trying to cure. So we have 8 months out of each year that we don't have to worry about that area. So I'm thinking that when we go in there, really, reality is, when I looked at it the other day, I'm going to give you a high number. I think between 30 and 50, and I believe it can be done cheaper than that. I believe we can come in under 30,000 with what we're talking about doing there.
Well, I didn't see it, so, you know, show it to me on paper, but I didn't see it. I didn't see.
You didn't see the need for it, Ms. Bird?
No, wasn't the need, because I can't tell if there's a need because I'm not there enough to know
Yes,
if
ma'am.
there's a need. But I couldn't see the amount of space that they're saying that they can put in there and still be comfortable for a workplace. And then 5 years down the line, we have to redo it.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know, I would like to see the numbers.
Well, I think
you know.
Mitch and them went over there and spent a day, and
But that's their opinion. I like to see the numbers.
Alan can do that.
Well, the contractor that actually did the work originally is willing to give us a number on that. He's willing to look at it, give us a number on it. Architect-wise, I think that's money thrown away. I mean, reality is, we did that complete build-out without architect. We went in there, we looked at the building ourselves. We established what walls were bearing walls. We established what could be moved, what couldn't be moved. We did the HVAC, the electrical. We did every bit of that in-house. And we had the contractor come in, build the walls, remove walls, build the stations. So, I mean, we could have done this. We could have done this 5 or 6 years ago when all that need was done, and we'd have spent a couple, $2-point-something million, but we didn't. We went in there, we made what we had work for what we have. And that's all we're trying to do now. We're just trying to accommodate the need out of the 3 months out of the year that they need it. And really, that's it. It is. And everyone agreed on that, the ones that's been there. If you've been there yourself, you'll see it now. But if you go there November, December, January, they're slammed. They really are. So that's just a certain time.
And there's 4 booths in there now, right?
5.
There's 5. So it's.
He can add 2 more.
We could add 2 more by turning them.
Not quite double, but 40% increase in
I know I was
production there.
told they can add 1 booth, but it's not that I don't want it to happen. I
Right.
want it to happen. I just want to make sure that 5 years down the line, we don't come back and have that same problem. So just want to make sure that it's going to work. You know, if we're going to do it, we just need to make sure it's going to work. You know.
5 years, they can just line up.
Well, in the conversation, Ms. Byrd, that's a great point. Actually, we had that same discussion when we redid it the first time. And there is going to be growth in 5 years, but I don't believe we're going to reach the capacity of that building every month out of the year for 12 months. I don't see that happening. I see growth maybe if we add a month, we add 2 months, we still are able to sustain that margin, because right now it's only a 3-month window. So that's a great point.
Okay. Any direction at this point? I mean, we can't do anything officially, but other than, do we even have, a good question was, do we have funding sources identified that could do that?
We have in the.
Jennifer.
Take the microphone back with you.
We have in the plan, and it's not specific, for what Charles was saying, it's not specific. We just had, we know we have some air conditioning repairs and/or replacements that have to be done there. And we have one for sure, probably 2 need to be done. And so we have a bucket of money of $75,000 for space needs / repair / AC, so we have to decide the priority and what that encompasses specifically for that building, but it's not, that's all we had.
So do we have any idea about the AC?
They need one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they do, and they've been
Big time.
having a lot of
No,
AC
do we
problems.
have any kind of cost on the AC?
About $25,000 per unit, I
That's
believe.
that's going
Is
to
that
be really close.
correct?
Right now, the
The health-
AC condition
the
there
health
was
department
fan motors.
Inclusive.
Yes, sir, it's on the north side of the building. We had some issues there. We've had issues for years there. That equipment, the voltage there is ridiculous. It's all over the place. City of Clewiston said live with it. So we've lived with it. We've replaced fan motor after fan motor. When those fan motors go down, obviously the ACs kick out on a high head, so you get humidity. When the fan motors are put back in, we don't have that problem. One unit will usually freeze you out of that side of the building. Both units right now have just had fan motors put back in them. There has been funding put in there, just repaired those. So our biggest issue there, to be honest with everyone, was always the health department side of the building. It was not our side. So our units, approximately 25,000, you're going to put a new condenser. The air handler, that system runs off of one air handler for the entire building. On our side, there's only one air handler. There's 2 outside units. So replacing those, if you had to replace both of them tomorrow, you'd look at about $50,000, but you're not in the need of replacing both
You
units
think
tomorrow.
we could do that in remodeling for 75?
We'll do 1 unit.
Well,
The whole thing?
actually, the probably your greatest advance there would be to condition your fresh air. Right now, the fresh air is dumped into the building at outside temperature, so it's obvious you're going to have humidity when you have the cold air in the building and the hot air pumped straight in. That's what they did here. They went to conditioned air here, and it saved a lot of problems here. So, but yes, sir, that lump sum of money would fix an AC unit if you needed one, and do your build out.
Okay, and then if it was short, do we have money we could add to it? Or should we do that ahead of time in the budget process?
I think that we're asking a very open-ended question, because we don't even know what in the world we're
Don't
going
know
to
yet
fix
what the
this year.
process
No, we've just got estimates. We don't.
Well, the contractor hadn't even been there yet. You're correct.
Yeah.
You're correct, Commissioner Turner.
So for me, I mean, I don't want to put staff on the spot and hold them to a number.
Right.
Right.
I think it's extremely unfair of us to ask, number one. Number two, I think that Commissioner Wills is, if I'm understanding him correctly, Mr. Chair, is saying that if we could perform said build out for X number of dollars, he would be receptive, and he feels that would meet our need out of the 3 months out of the year that we're overburdened in that office for possibly 3 to 5 years. Commissioner Byrd is saying that she's not for it or against it, as long as it makes sense logically, because the need is actually there. I'm very receptive to what Ms. Byrd is saying, which is, can we get a little more data to say, yeah, we need this? Because you're not saying no, right, Ms. Byrd?
saying no.
You're just saying, when you go over there right now, you don't see the need to spend $1, let alone $50,000. Commissioner Harris, I think you want to just get it done, and you don't want to burn $12,000 on an architect, because that's just burning money I mean, heck, our staff in-house, we had estimates $900,000 to go back in and retrofit the health department so that we could do what we've been doing now for how many years? And they did it for less than 6 figures, guys. They did it for less than 6 figures. We could throw a lot of barbecues and thank them for doing that and still be a lot of money ahead. So, Mr. Chair, I'm receptive to maybe giving direction to staff to say, can you please show us what y'all are thinking from that entire capital improvement list that we have to keep the millage at 8.4909 that has kept me up ever since we've decided to do that, and I got my butt handed to me on a 4-1 vote. I would love to know what that capital improvement list consists of. It's not that it's a burr in my saddle or anything, but it is. I know that one big thing, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, one big thing was the paving of this parking lot. Isn't that on that list?
Yes.
It
And
is.
that does, I'm just going to say it, that does not need to be done until we have construction completed on this building, because we're going to spend money coming back in and retroactively spending that. Am I wrong on that, Charles?
There's a reseal, restripe.
Yeah, there's
think
resealing and
it was
restriping
paid.
that is included. We have not formally added the paving as of yet.
Okay.
For two reasons. One is we're still looking at the footprint, the physical footprint of what the parking lot is going to look like. That's
Okay.
one. And two is we're not done with this courthouse renovations just yet.
Good.
And so if we pave, let's say we had a magical tree of money that I can go and pull it out and pave it tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm not going to roll in or recommend to this board that I roll in the heavy equipment to finish the courthouse renovations on top of
Right.
new asphalt.
And so
And
so
I
everybody's
can't-
on the same page there, right?
Yeah, Shane
Okay.
said you cannot touch the parking lot until all of the.
I believe that's
new
what was said in the
courthouse-
I cannot guarantee this board that it's going to fall within next fiscal year.
That's okay.
But my point was, we need to allocate the funding for it. If he fixes the bricks in a month, 2 months, then we're ready to pay it.
Okay.
Pave or even seal. I wouldn't even seal it, never done.
Yeah, you can't.
But that's not going to happen in 60 days.
Talking about the construction.
I know that sounds all good.
Solve that.
Well, you're going to be
We can
short,
celebrate that at Rotary, but.
you'll be short about 100,
Huh?
you'll be short around $100,000, because we have $30,000, and what is it, 112 or
You might
100?
as well throw that away.
So, I mean, you're going to be short a significant amount of money in this next fiscal year if you were to repave it this fiscal year, according to the current schedule that we have,
Well,
And the
what-
estimate.
and the, right, of the estimate.
Well, we need to put the money in the budget this year for the paving while we got the money, because next year, we're gonna cut taxes, so we won't have any money.
Wait, but the last 2 years, we were going to cut taxes, and we get there, we're going to do it next year. So, you brought it up. That's the only reason I'm driving that. Just to,
Any questions about the direction?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to offer up a clarification.
Okay, offer.
Please. And y'all tell me if I'm in left field or not. So could we have staff give us the capital improvement list that you all think is actually doable for our upcoming fiscal? And then not build in, but show us the data sets associated with what our tax collector, Mr. Langford, is saying and how we need that. And then I am a very big proponent of what Mr. Harris is saying, or what Commissioner Harris is saying, which is not necessarily throwing 12K or any number at that matter for that study, Charles, to say, said architect, because I know that's a great thing to have that seal and all that. But the reality is that Alan, Commissioner Wills, everybody, they can go in there and tell you where low-bearing walls are, because they already did it. And this is not just, a backwoods fix, so to speak. They're going to do a quality job. But I also, like Commissioner Byrd, I want to see, is that truly going to add 22 seats and 2 stations? Or is it going to add, at the end of the day, we're going to spend $50K and we're going to add 6 seats and a half of 1 station. And then Commissioner Byrd and I are still going to get yelled at when we try to go to Beef O'Brady's, because we're not providing adequate working space for Ms. Garcia and all of them in there that we love to death. We're trying to take care of them, but they also are understanding that we just don't have an endless pot of money.
Okay, how long would it take to get us a cost on the air?
On the air conditioning?
Yeah, the air conditioning.
Well, the problem with that is, I mean, I've
It's
been trying to
fixed in
save
two.
money for so many years for Hendry County. They're working. I don't see taking them out and putting new ones in.
Yeah, that's an issue that's
Those
that's
can last
working
for another
until
10 years.
Well,
The air
we
conditioner unit.
spent we pulled that rain back. It's not 5 years old, that one unit.
So just leave them
The
alone?
one unit's almost brand new. That's
Yeah.
the south side of the building.
Yes, sir.
That's a whole new condenser out there.
Yeah.
The north side of the building is where they're having the issues. But like I said, there has been issues there. Anytime we have motors go down, it's not going to work adequately. They're
And with the
back
voltage
together.
fluctuation that we're having, we're probably going to continue to have those motors getting shot.
Sure,
You
well, it's
know, so-
electricity.
Yes, sir. So,
Because of the voltage.
but I mean, it could be a starter, it could be anything. It doesn't matter. I think that's one of those ones that's an emergency decree. If we lose it, then we have to pull $25,000 out of Charles's salary and put it towards that right there.
That sounds good.
And then we'll pay him on the back end on monthly installments.
Second the motion.
Okay. Man, Commissioner Harris is all over that one.
I'll just take it from the architect budget.
There you go. There you go. He's halfway there.
So Mitch,
Commissioner Turner, and you did put in there, we could get some support data from Mr. Langford about how much traffic do you actually have?
Sir.
When do you, I think that would be perfect. That's going to
Okay.
show us exactly when we need the traffic, when it's there,
Yep.
and what the necessity really is. So.
Because the reality is that if it's moving into a November, December, then we need to move kind of faster. You know what I mean? Then because they're going to be 60 days, but that'll be 45 days on that build out. You know, they do it right.
I think Mitch has been an eyewitness since he works over there.
I've been there, like I said, I said in the last, I didn't see it as being a, oh my God thing. I saw it as something we needed to start addressing now so that we wouldn't have the problem in the future. Like I said, November, December, January, there is going to be a need. When you look at Mr. Langford's numbers, you'll see the increase there, and then you'll see the steady decrease through this time of the year.
Yes, sir.
If you visited the facility today, you may have seen 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
Then he's going to want us to hire 2 more people to sit there.
That's exactly what's going to happen.
He already wants 1 more right now, so.
See?
Well, that's his budget, and hopefully he can get that off the return of things. And listen, also, I would hope that we would ask Mr. Langford, is there something in his budget that he could help offset this with us, on moving this build out forward? And then the last thing I would just ask is that, as it relates to this, I mean, we've already given him the larger room there where Mr. Smith is at now, and I assume that's going to be dedicated specifically towards a certain facet. But I think that we as a county really need to start pushing that online presence on as much of that stuff that we can possibly do. There's South Florida Water Management District doesn't issue a permit in physical form anymore. They're a $3.1 billion industry, or excuse me, $3.1 billion budget annually. And by the way, they've lowered their millage the last 7 years in a row. Just saying. And they are doing so much online with an online presence now, and I think that's the way of the world. Look at banks; their storefronts are shrinking. That model is not as prevalent as it used to be. It's kind of getting that online virtual reality. People can do so much more with a smartphone now than we could even think about.
He's going to use that room for concealed weapons, which that's another addition.
Any further comments?
Well, the biggest thing I think we're going to run into over there is going to be the signage.
Oh, that's a huge thing,
That needs to be
Commissioner Wills.
addressed. That's,
It looks tacky, right? It looks really bad.
It does, and it's very misleading.
Yeah.
So I would believe that we would need to address that.
To me, and listen, the captain of the Hating landscape crew, I don't think we need a chintz on that. I think that's a $10,000 to $15,000 adder just off of the hip. And, as I'm telling you, you can jazz that building up. You can give respect to having a nice placard honoring Commissioner Taylor in the Janet P. Taylor Auditorium. Right now, that's kind of a sidebar item on that building. There's just 2 or 3 little things that can be done, and I think that Mr. Bowen and his team could really look at that. And then I think that if they could give us the ability to even just weigh in on it, and then I would love for all the constitutionals to look at that. This is just as much y'all's building as it is any of the taxpayers, and I really think that we need to look at that, Ms. Butler, because those signs are confusing and tacky right now.
I think that would actually alleviate a lot of the pressure right now.
Yeah.
Just by addressing that.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going through one building looking for another building.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
We have the ability to make some of those signs in-house.
Yeah.
Depending on what they need.
That's the problem. That's the problem there right there, Commissioner Swindle. As I think that Hendry County, we don't need to hire a PR firm. We don't need to go out and hire, somebody to rebrand Hendry County. I don't want EVOC to come back in and for $70,000. But I think that we do need to have a visioning, exercise amongst ourselves and say, okay, we want that insignia that, that is on the side of our trucks and all that stuff. We want that to be big and pretty with a light shining on it at night. And then, in the daytime, it looks sharp as well. And then it all flows together. We don't have that right now at that building. And I think that we've made a lot of signs in-house, Commissioner Swindle, and that's a bit of where the confusion lies. They're green and white, and they're out of the way. They're not set up properly. It was funny. I was there today, and there was a gentleman from, I think from Miami-Dade or Broward, and they were asking where building and zoning is, and they went into the health department, and then there were 2 African-American ladies that were kind enough to escort them around. And I asked the lady, I said, what are y'all trying to get done? And they said, we're just trying to help this knucklehead. So I was like, I understand.
Any further questions, comments?
No, sir.
Ms. Davis? We need to have a hearing of the public? Says so on,
Yeah, this is actually a workshop. It was a misprint here to call it a meeting agenda, and you did have hearing of the public. I don't know if you want to, it's on here. You probably ought to go and hear them, but you didn't have to.
is there any members of the public who wish to address the board at this time concerning the budget or any of the items discussed? Okay, seeing none. Anything else, board, staff? Okay, we'll call this meeting adjourned. We'll stand adjourned until 5 o'clock.
Thank you,